Using Bitcoin as a database, as data storage, that's not new. The only thing that was really new about Inscriptions was that they were able to, I think, take advantage of Taproot to put data into transactions more cheaply than was possible before. It was always possible before. We've had people inscribe the white paper into the blockchain like 10 years ago. There's actually a really cool command you can run on the command line to extract and reconstitute the PDF of the Bitcoin white paper if you have a full node. But just using Bitcoin as data storage, I don't think that's a problem. I think that, the economics work themselves out there, where if you're going to be using Bitcoin as data storage, that data better be pretty damn valuable, and you're going to need to be able to compete in the market against people who are doing other valuable things. So, I wasn't surprised by people taking the sort of NFT hype and transferring it over to Bitcoin, but I also don't think that it's as sustainable as, say, NFTs on Solana. Just due to how much more expensive it is. I suspect that if Bitcoin is able to maintain some semblance of an NFT ecosystem, it's going to be relegated to $100,000 type really niche artwork, the sort of like Bored Ape CryptoPunk level stuff. And it's not going to be for the layman, creating $5, $10 things, because in most of those other ecosystems, they're not actually storing the entire file in the blockchain or the data layer or whatever. They're just putting pointers in there, so it's a lot cheaper, and it's cheaper for other reasons too.
Yeah, I appreciate the explanation there, because I tend to agree that a lot of the quote problems that people see with something like Inscriptions and then Ordinals on top of that, or any of these things, a lot of them work themselves out because the economics need to work. And if they don't, unless you want to really try and control that, and I suppose if you do really want to try and control that and have that not be possible anymore, that means maybe you don't have a ton of faith in just the operation of the free market to try and seek, effective ways to deploy capital. Because at a certain point, it's like, okay, if you want to, spend transaction fees on this, then okay, great. Eventually that will price out the majority of the market who may want to use that. And I think it's also something that's missed, which you pointed out, which is that inscriptions have been done for a long time. Ordinals is something a little bit different, I suppose. The actual creating a number system, assigning a little bit more of value to certain numbers, or like the rare sats idea. But
Ordinals is just a meta protocol,
right?
And so you can kind of think of it as a second layer that's it's much more amorphous in nature than the other layers, in the sense that it's not even really creating any other data outside of the blockchain. All that it's doing is looking at data in the blockchain and then ascribing other value to it. And I think people are free to hallucinate and create their own meta protocols that don't change Bitcoin in any way. They're just creating completely other software that interprets the blockchain data in a different way. But I bet that what almost nobody realizes, unless you've been around for a decade, is that there was an intense debate in probably 2013 or 2014, maybe even earlier, about the op return size. And back in the early days, I think when op return was first introduced, it allowed 40 bytes of data to be stored in the op return output. And there was this massive debate between the protocol developers about whether this should be good or bad or whatever, and it was From one perspective, it was considered good because I think the op return UTXOs themselves are prunable, so the nodes can throw them away because they're unspendable. But then I think there were some, I forget if it was what eventually became the Omni protocol. I think it was Mastercoin back then. But there were some developers who said, well, 40 bytes isn't enough. Can we get 80 bytes? And so there's massive debate for, I think, several months, if not longer. And eventually the op return data size did get bumped up to 80 bytes. But this just kind of goes to show you that like storing arbitrary data in the Bitcoin blockchain is not new by any means. History is just repeating itself in a slightly different way.